Hi, folks. I'm Dan McDermott. Welcome to our Android Week, where we discuss all things Android. Joining me from New York is Alan Furstenberg. We're starting a little bit earlier than usual tonight, because I
And
have
for
to
the
leave at
last month
9:30.
or so, we've been starting at 6.
Oh,
This is
true.
downright late.
We're late. Even when we're early, we're late. Anyway, we heard about Project Fi, and that is we talked a little bit about it at the end of Friday, but this is a hybrid or a mixture, I guess, a hybrid between Sprint and T-Mobile. And when a good Wi-Fi hotspot is available, it'll I don't know if it'll switch to that or just initiate. I don't know. I hope it's not as kludgy as the other Wi-Fi capabilities I've tried before. What are your thoughts on Project Fi, which only works
Way
for
to
the
be
Nexus
wishy-washy
6?
there, Dan.
Huh?
Way to be decisive there. It's got stuff, and I don't know. I don't know. I think this is an interesting attempt, but honestly, I just don't see why anyone would care. I just don't. If the whole point is to encourage people to use more data, this isn't the plan. If the whole point is to encourage cell phone wireless vendors that they're going to be able to fleece customers more by charging them per gig, then this is the plan. I don't get it. This seems like another attempt by Google to do something bold and innovative in the mobile space and to trip on their own shoelaces again.
I Because it only works with the Nexus 6, it's not going to be something widely adopted. And I'm guessing that they're playing with it to test it and to see what kind of reaction they're going to get, how it works from the customer's perspective, and how the carriers react. Because I think that's their big concern.
Yeah.
But I think it's like they can't. It's not fair for the carriers to say, Google, don't put, you know, calling ability and Hangouts or what have you, when there are so many other apps that have that now. I think the Facebook just got it, and what's
Anybody saying that?
no, that was a concern that was expressed earlier.
Eh.
All right, so speaking of that, Facebook has announced Hello, an app to replace the Android launcher or the dialer, and because their previous attempt to replace the launcher went so well. But I got to tell you, Alan, I was the kid. We were getting a tuxedo for his prom, and I shot a picture of it so he could send it to the girl so she could approve, or a suit for him. And we're in the Joseph A. Banks place. Anyway, I said, "What's her number to send this to her?" He said, "I don't know." I said, "What do you mean? It's your girlfriend and you're taking her to the prom." He said, "We just Facebook." They literally don't even have each other's phone number. Facebook is that big a deal for these kids. So I could see this. What do you think? This way they can have a voice call. They don't even, I guess, without even, he can actually speak with an audio method to his girl. What do you think?
Yeah, but that's not even the interesting part of Hello.
What is?
The interesting part of Hello is that it has caller ID without caller ID.
It'll say that it's Alan calling me from your Facebook contact, not from your.
It doesn't even use your Facebook contact. It doesn't even use your Facebook list of contacts. If I've registered my phone number with Facebook, and who hasn't, it's the theory anyway, then it knows that. So even if I'm not in your list of contacts, it'll be able to tell you that it's me calling.
And it's not spoofable.
Nope.
So, and I think that's fair. If I call you, I think you have a right to know who's calling, even if I'm not in your contacts, to make a decision on whether to answer. But God, if all my Facebook people start calling me, hell no.
Nobody knows how to use the phone anymore. Nobody cares.
All right. So we'll see. Is this a gimmick or niche, or is this going to be the new WhatsApp?
It's certainly not going to be the new WhatsApp. Facebook keeps trying to shove more features into its various messenger-like things to try to get them to have real traction. I don't know. I think this is another interesting attempt. Maybe it'll catch on, maybe not.
And in retrospect, I like that they split Messenger up from the Facebook app. because I think on my phone I do not have the Facebook app, but I do have the Messenger app. Wouldn't have been possible previously to be able to get an actual direct message on Facebook without having to find out that, Alan shared a cat or something. Okie doke. Next up is some European discussion, which we've discussed ad nauseum, but the theory is, and it's probably accurate, that really Android is where they're going to have a bigger fight, more so than search. Do you agree with that premise? And is this much ado about something?
I think it's what Europe really wants to pick the fight over. Unfortunately, it's a far, far weaker position for the fight. Apple's got plenty of presence there. Nokia's got a decent presence there. Nokia / Microsoft / whatever they are this month has a decent presence there.
And also Android is far more open than iOS.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. They're letting anyone use it. Apple's letting no one use it.
I think this is a far, far weaker argument than search. And Google is not Google is not the dominant player in Android, in mobile, not by a long shot.
And also, they could theoretically say, okay, from now on, nobody can make an Android phone except us for any versions that we release in the future.
But they wouldn't do that because Google doesn't know squat about making phones.
I agree, I'm saying they could. I don't see what the argument is. I think it's just, I forget what Cozy or whoever said, you guys moan and groan at us Europeans or something. Eli, we started early because I have to leave early, so we went ahead and did it. I see you lost the bet with your electrical teacher. You've got your hair out. I haven't seen you like that before.
Yeah, just au naturel,
Excellent. You could do a mean Weird Al for Halloween. But anyway, good to have you, Eli. Did you have any thoughts on? There were a couple articles here about the European fight with Google, and that they think that the biggest headache is going to be Android, not so much the fight over search. I think Alan and I both think that they have a weaker argument there because iOS is a big player and they are far more closed than Google is with Android.
Well, yeah, you got iOS, you've got in some European markets Windows Phone doing over 10%. Android's extremely open. It appears all of the licensing stuff is voluntary. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think about that is it's voluntary. I mean, people want Google services on phones. Google was essentially building services that phones would need later on before anybody knew phones would need them.
Yeah. And like you said, it's voluntary. They can, the best example of that is Amazon, which has taken Android and created their own thing with their own app store, and what the Microsoft is going to do with Cyanogen, right? They're saying screw Google. So if anybody doesn't like it, they literally, it's a lot easier to create an Android splinter phone than it is to create a better search engine, because Cyanogen and Amazon have both created fairly good Android light devices, forks, if you will. All right. And are you excited about Project Fi or Facebook Hello, Eli? We hit those two things first.
No, actually, I think that those are extremely exciting things. Project Fi is basically the first project of its scale to attempt to prove the theory that voice over internet is and text over internet is the future of all voice and text. The underlying infrastructure is the same exact thing that powers Google Voice and Hangouts, which is why you're not dependent on SIMs. You can move your phone number between devices and make and receive and calls and texts from different devices as well. In addition to, even though the Nexus 6 is the only one that has the cellular support, once you have the service, just like Google Voice Hangouts, It works across any of your devices that you can log into the service with and have an internet connection. As for Facebook Hello, I have to say I decided to do this experiment. I had an extra phone. I'm living the VoIP lifestyle with Hangouts and Hangouts dialers, so I thought, well, let me compare Facebook's offering with Hello. Was not really a great option if you're living VoIP only like me, because when it comes to dialing a real phone number, it wants to use your regular telephone connection. But as a way of organizing your contacts, it's brilliant, and it really was kind of humbling to see just exactly how many of my contacts not only had Facebook accounts, but Facebook Messenger. Facebook is as close, I think, as anybody else. Maybe right around the same with Google, just because of the pre-installed stuff on Android, to having pretty much everybody with an account so that they can realistically build this kind of infrastructure. I think it's brilliant. That said, I did see some serious bugs in performance. Some of my contacts mysteriously would not show up in Facebook Dialer, even though it would pull a version of their Facebook account that was not actually linked to that phone number. It was almost like Facebook's infamous algorithm was prioritizing who my friends should be. But no, I was pleasantly surprised to see, that it works actually surprisingly well. The voice service is not as good as what Hangouts offers, but surprisingly good. And I think Facebook could be a real threat to pretty much everybody else in the messaging market over the next 5 to 10 years if they play their cards right.
Yeah, because overseas they got WhatsApp, and certainly they're the incumbent. Everyone's using them. Everyone's on Facebook. Okay, so the watches, some stories there. A big update came out for Android Wear, which powers the Android smartwatches. We see the Apple Watch competition is shipping. Craig just emailed me his confirmation that his was coming. And also, it's a good time to say, how does Android Wear stack up with Pebble and Apple Watch, now that we're seeing some of the first reviews? So, Alan, you want to tell us what the update was?
Well, I mean, the update was the one that we covered last week, if I remember correctly. Added features, including Wi-Fi support. I think the app itself now supports multiple Wear devices, which was kind of nifty. I can't remember what some of the other changes were. They were a new way to start apps that makes it a little more convenient directly from the home screen. Decent changes, but the Wi-Fi one is probably the biggest one of the batch. As for the article comparing the three, that's got to be one of the crappiest articles I ever read.
And it's from The Verge, no less.
Well, yeah, I mean, this wasn't even The Verge's usual hit piece type thing. It really was literally saying, let's compare these three devices, which, let's be honest, you can't really compare to each other. It was really just a stupid
Isn't
article.
Pebble like really just a whole generation? It's not a fair fight, right?
No, it's not. It blows the other two out of the water.
Oh, really?
I don't know. You know, the fact that I can have a Pebble on my wrist for a week before it needs to be charged says a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
The fact that it pairs with both Android and iOS while the other two don't says a hell of a lot.
Can you get your basic important notifications on the Pebble, I guess?
Well, if you're using an operating system that supports it, absolutely.
If you had to buy only one of the three, would you? Well, obviously you would get an Apple because you don't have an iPhone, but would you get the Wear or would you get the Pebble?
Well, let me put it to you this way, Dan. I own two Wear devices that I didn't buy. I bought a Pebble.
Interesting. What do you think, Eli?
Actually, I think I'm going to have to incline in his direction. I think that obviously...
Don't make it sound so painful, Eli.
I think that when it comes to Pebble versus Android Wear and Apple Watch, when you consider what Android Wear and Apple Watch aspire to be, it's not going to be a competition ultimately. At this point, it's like David and prepubescent Goliath. Goliath's going to be huge. 2 or 3 generations, Android Wear, Apple Watch will be capable of doing so much more, and they'll solve a lot of these issues. They may not get week-long battery life, but I could see them squeezing at least 2 or 3 days, so it's not obnoxious, oh God, I got to charge another device every day sort of thing. And I think they'll be able to do things that right now the people who are developing them dream of them being able to do, but they can't do or can't do as well as they would, want to be able to market them being able to do things yet. But right now, yeah, I mean, the main appeal of the smartwatches appears to be interactivity with notifications without having to, pull out your smartphone. And Pebble does that capably with both platforms and lasts a week on battery life.
Alan, you bought a Pebble. You have 2 Wear devices. If you happen to be charging or for whatever reason you're going out and about and you don't have glass on, would you?
Well, that almost never happens. But yeah, on the rare occasion that I'm not wearing glass out of the house, I'm wearing my Moto 360 right now. My Pebble hasn't arrived yet.
Okay. Are you getting a Pebble because you think it's something you want or because you want to develop or play with it?
Both. I think it's, let's put it this way. On occasions when I'm away from my house for more than a day, I would like to be able to carry with me a device that I can get, that I can do the things that I'm used to doing on glass and not have to worry about recharging it.
That is.
So I can go away for a weekend and not have to worry about recharging my watch.
That is, frankly, an indictment of the current watch offerings. That Pebbles, you would buy one today.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think the other thing is that both Pebble and Wear have a lot of things that are very, very much in common, very similar in how they act with the app, with their apps. I think Pebble has captured the timeline concept from glass much better than Wear has so far. Wear comes close, and it does some very similar things. I think Pebble's a little bit closer right now. And I think Apple still doesn't understand what the hell a watch is for.
It's beautiful, beautiful. All right.
And I'm trying to figure out if Eli is laughing at me or not.
No, I'm laughing with you because I know you're laughing on the inside. No, Apple swing and a miss. Completely misunderstood the point of a smartwatch. I don't know how they so spectacularly misunderstood it and so spectacularly complicated it, but they did.
I think if I actually saw some person who bought, what is it, 15 grand for the gold one? The Apple one?
17 grand high end.
They would not elicit from me the desired reaction of being impressed and in awe and jealous in any way. I would think, oh man, you really got screwed. You're an idiot. Is that fair?
I don't know, to be honest, how fair it is. I mean, personally, I've read the brief reviews. I've seen the commentary. I'd like to actually play with an Apple Watch. I'm looking forward to doing so at some point. But from everything I've seen so far,
I'm not talking about the $350 one. I'm talking about the $17,000 gold one that's going to be obsolete when all the other ones are, I assume.
Yeah, but, I mean, well, here's the thing. The $17,000 one, it's not meant to actually be used.
It's meant to be seen.
Right. Nobody gives a flip at that price range.
Don't use the good china. That's to put in the china cabinet. Eat off the Corel. All right, so Samsung.
I kind of thought people who spent 17 grand on a watch kind of at least wanted to imagine that someday they were going to pass that watch down to their kid, and their kid wasn't going to look at them and go, "Why are you handing me this technological fossil that is, like 70,000 generations behind the current technology?" At least with like a really good-looking mechanical watch, you know it'll last forever. It's anachronistic, but it's timeless.
Pardon the
pun.
pun.
Apple Watch is not going to be timeless. But anyways, sorry.
All right, yeah, there's not a lot of heirloom ability with an electronic device. Okay, Samsung app helps Alzheimer's patients remember their families. This is Alan showed us this one, and I think it's awesome. I've seen people it was dementia. I guess that's early Alzheimer's or perhaps different. And they'll have signs up like bathroom, your bedroom, your daughter's bedroom, your daughter Lisa's bedroom, that kind of thing, up in the house. And so tell us about this, Alan. Did you have a chance to look at this?
Yeah, so this is a cute app that Samsung is coming out with. So yes, everyone, pay attention. I'm actually going to say something nice about Samsung for once. That does a couple of things that are clever and useful for Alzheimer's patients. So what it does is basically provides a picture and a name for people that the Alzheimer patient is familiar with. And it's been shown in the past that these sorts of cues can help Alzheimer's patients delay the progression of the disease and help them recognize the people in the room with them and help them remember life events and so forth. The clever bit about this is that these visual cues get triggered when the person enters the room or comes into nearby proximity. And it knows this by Bluetooth and other means. So we've seen these sorts of things in other apps before, but we always talk about them in terms of, oh, we need facial recognition and we need captions hovering above the person's head and in an augmented reality format. This is a very simple, useful reminder for a person when somebody they care about, somebody who's important to them, comes into proximity, and it gives them those visual cues that they need. So I think this is great. What do you think, Eli?
You know, I'm conservative. I still believe in tattooing your entire body with clues to your wife's murder and tracking across the country. You know, it's the old-fashioned way of doing things. It's the way the Bible wanted it to be
You're
done.
such a Luddite, Eli.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but seriously, no, I think it's fantastic. I mean, assuming, and you know, I'm going to guess they're seeing that this is okay, just because my immediate thought is, well, you know, what if they forget that app exists and what its purpose is, and then they're like, why is my phone talking to me? But well, I mean, I don't think that's the case. It's because it seems like it's analogous to other systems that have been used in the past, signs and such. It's just more advanced, and they seem to be able to work with this technology and delay progression and manage the progression a little bit better for a little bit longer. And every minute that a man can remember, even if he has to be triggered to it, who his wife is 1 minute that you know he still has a reason to be on this earth.
All right. Okay, next is Android Action Cards in Google Search. What's the story here? I swear to God, I read it like 4 days ago. I completely forget it. I need the Samsung app.
Oh, that's not the app you need, Dan, but
I need the Ritalin app. So what do you think about the...
So what these are, you know, these are some new commands that you can issue as part of regular web searches, as part of, you know, Google's normal search, not just in Android, and they take action on your Android device. So for example, you could, you know, type as part of your search, as part of a web search, note to self, and it pops up a box saying, what note do you want to send? You can enter in the text, and it sends it to your mobile device as a notification there. Also let you set an alarm, for example. So, you know, a couple of nifty features that, again, show that they're beginning to blur the lines between when you need to deal with something on your desktop and when it's a mobile action, and it doesn't really matter where you do those things.
I think one of the best things that Google has really gotten good at, the Google Now stuff is one of the best things that they do, I think. I love the
And if this had anything to do with that, you'd be right and on topic, but it doesn't.
I'm talking about the like setting the alarm and stuff, but the whole connection between your desktop browser and your mobile device. They're really getting good at that. It's really really useful. Eli, any thoughts on the action cards?
Yeah, I look at it and I think, wow. I mean, if I'm Larry Page, I'm looking at this and going, how did I ever doubt that we would need an operating system? Because think about it, if there was no Android, how many futile searches for Find My Phone or Set an Alarm or whatever would people type into Google and then nothing would happen? Because people think Google's magic anyways. So they were already doing these things. So essentially all Google's doing is now fulfilling the magic wish. Find my phone. Okay, here it is. And that's going to make people love Google more, and that's going to help retain users longer. And certainly if I'm Microsoft, I'm looking at this going, wow, we are in huge, huge, huge trouble.
Yeah, and also all this stuff is helps their case when people want to talk about Scroogled and stuff like that, and the Europeans. It helps people to realize if you don't let us have this data, we can't give you these services. It's kind of a quid pro quo. Okay, so rushing along because I have to leave in 18 minutes from Cass. I have no idea. Hopefully, one of you, Alan, and you guys will understand this better. The two security issues. One is anyway. There's two security things. The second one involves an implant, and that's the photo of the guy with the little slight beard. Guy who's trying to grow a beard, and from Forbes with no.
The guy with the guy with the NFC implant in his hand.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, what do you think about these security stories, guys? Which I don't understand.
Well, all I could say is if this guy is really able to create huge problems like he thinks he's going to be able to just, by having an NFC chip in his hand, then obviously we have to address the vulnerabilities of near-field communication technology before everybody starts using this for their bank transactions at restaurants and such. Otherwise, you could end up with something far worse than the massive hacks of Target and such stealing people's card numbers. So that should be a real eye-opener. If it's that dangerous to have near-field communication technology out there that somebody with an implant in their hand could compromise the security of your device, that's pretty crazy. I'm sorry, what was the second story again?
The second one was the
second story, if I'm following it correctly, has to do with the fact that a number of sites aren't implementing SSL checks correctly. So yeah, once again, we've got a case where programmers think they know something about security and actually know nothing about security.
Okay, so we are cautiously pessimistic on that. Okay, so there's a story here, yet another story about how difficult it can be to organize your contacts. I don't like that. It's a pain in the ass. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if Apple does it any better than Google. Google doesn't do it well. I don't know how Microsoft does it. We also learned Microsoft is losing money on Windows phones, which is not surprising since I've only seen two in the wild. Both people really liked them though. We see Twitter is trying to tone down the chirping, so we've got a couple different apps we're discussing. Twitter is trying to do like a best of from your people you follow, a daily thing on Android. Any thoughts on any of these things, Alan?
No.
Eli?
Well, sure. I mean, it's just, Twitter has to, because of the nature of the platform, they have to keep reminding you that they exist. And they have to keep reminding you of why you want to use them. Otherwise, people very quickly forget, because in reality, almost nobody wants to use Twitter. Honestly, the best case scenario for Twitter is Google goes hog wild, plops down the 30, 40 billion, whatever it is, to buy them out, not because they're some fantastic social network, because they're not, but because they're a great resource for like real-time and trending stuff that fits very well with Google's search business model. And we see, over the years, Google's wanted as much access to Twitter's stuff for that reason as possible. They had a short-lived live search deal that fell apart, and shortly thereafter, Google did Google Plus. I'm not saying that necessarily connected, but I'm sure it gave them more encouragement to pursue their own social thing. Twitter is a network for like journalists to pull quotes and sound bites, and celebrities to, give PR statements, pretty much. The average person doesn't care less unless they're constantly reminded by notifications. And honestly, the more Twitter can filter the noise, because there's a lot of noise in there that looks like computer code to the average person, the better. The more people are going to care what they have to say.
Yeah, I have I guess a different perspective as a journalist. I love Twitter. I mean, love it. I use it constantly. If I'm on the can, the last thing before I go to sleep at night, first thing in the morning, I'm checking with the coffee, the whole deal. Like, damn, I got to take a shower. I can't look at Twitter while I'm in the shower. I need a waterproof Twitter feed. But that's a slight exaggeration, but only slight. So yeah, but I guess real people who aren't journalists, people with real jobs, I guess they're not using Twitter, according to Eli.
I mean, it's got, according to a lot of people, it's got fewer 30-day usage accounts than Google Plus does even.
That's not good. Yeah, that's not good. If you're worse than Google Plus.
Yeah, and we don't really like. I would wager that it's more likely that like even the lazy users on the 30-day usage list for Google Plus are doing actually something, whereas the laziest ones on the Twitter list are just like, ooh, I heard that Britney Spears said something crazy on Twitter.
Nope,
and they go on and they look what
characters.
She said.
Stop it, Eli. Too many characters.
It's a neat thing. I mean, I love it. It's the fastest way to get news. I've just on the show I was learning because I follow all the right things. I just learned like the Baltimore stuff. The governor just said the mayor's asked the state to take over because they're apparently burning the city of Baltimore down. It's probably like 20 people.
And you just learned that on Twitter?
I wasn't paying attention earlier.
Well, here's the thing, and here's why you're right that Twitter's the fastest way to get news. Put 3 people outside of Whitney Houston's hotel room when she dies with their smartphones. They find out at the same time. Nobody else knows yet. One has their smartphone open to Twitter. One has their smartphone open to Facebook. One has their smartphone open to, say, Google+. Twitter guy, Whitney Houston dead in hotel room. Tweet. Facebook guy, oh my God, everyone, you won't believe what I just found out about Whitney Houston. She's dead in her hotel room. Send. Obviously, that's going to take longer. Google Plus person probably going to have to go through a retrospective of Whitney Houston's life and best works before they break the news.
I see here the Maryland State Police have asked for sending 5,000 officers over there. So this is all coming in on Twitter. I love it. It's fast and for journalism, but I guess I don't know if I don't think the kids are using it. I think it's one of the things they play with every once in a while. Huh?
The kids stopped using it as soon as Instagram came along. They just used it for a while because their parents didn't, and then Instagram came along, and that was cooler. And Snapchat too. They use a lot of the Snapchat.
I played with Snapchat when it first came out, basically for this show, so I could say I've used it. But apparently they've added a lot of stuff. It's not just the go-to teen sexting platform anymore. You can do other stuff with it. I think Vice has a news program on it. He said that we have the #1 news show in the world. It's our news thing on Vice newscast on Snapchat, and every day it disappears. He says probably the most watched news show in the world. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that Snapchat's fairly worthless, if I'm going to be honest here. I think that Facebook was insane to offer them billions. I think they were insane to turn down billions. It's self-destructing, short little video things, I'm sorry, you're not going to make a multi-billion-dollar empire out of it. It's not going to happen.
What's with that? Because like Meerkat came out with their video thing, and then was promptly smacked by Twitter because they didn't realize that they had bought Periscope secretly. And Meerkat, I don't know what it is now because no one's used it since Periscope came along, so they're screwed. And but Meerkat is live, and then that's it. When it's done, it's done. And you can download it locally if you wanted to upload it, but nobody's going to do that. And it forces you to go vertical. God, that pisses me off. And then they just said, look, that's how people do it. I'm sorry, it sucks, but that we're just going with the flow. We're conceding defeat to the people who won't hold their freaking phone landscape. YouTube with their iOS app did the opposite. Forced immediately goes landscape. You have to hold the phone sideways. And then with Periscope, they did, I think, you can come back at 24 hours later, you can watch it. What is with all the destructive? Why would they do that? Is it to save cost? What the hell? To force live engagement? Why on earth would anyone want to
Snowden.
take Snowden? Really? I could see with the Snapchat, but Meerkat and Periscope? You think? Huh. Okay.
There's an increased paranoia about anything being permanent.
Interesting.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think that, given the laws, I think that Periscope, Meerkat, or anything like it is doomed. If it reaches a certain scale, they're gonna have to apply some cockamamie form of real-time content ID to it. And look, you ever watch one of those shows and you're just like it's a documentary or something? You're like, seriously, they're gonna just black out every single logo in the background, the McDonald's sign, the thing on the guy's T-shirt, right? Because they have to do that, or they'd have to pay somebody money. Now, none of these apps are anywhere near smart enough to block all those things out in real time. The only company that could possibly come close to having that kind of capability, and I'm sure even they don't have it yet, is Google. There's just not that level of intelligence, let alone at the speed, to block out every possibly copyrightable logo, trademark, image, song that could possibly appear in your thing, and it's going to become a landmine. People are not going to want to use something when, any random model of Coke that shows up in the background can get their video banned. It's going to become 10 times as frustrating as what people deal with YouTube, where at least you have time to sit down and look and see, is there anything in here that could trigger something that I need to blur out or something. Yeah, just can't do it. So that's how I think those things are going down in flames as far as the ambitions that they have for them. There'll be some market for them, but it'll be so small because it'll never be able to get to that scale, or it'll be killed by copyright.
All right, I got 6 minutes. I got to roll. So 2 more stories here. Jay-Z's Tidal, the music streaming app, has apparently flopped. I think it's an Android and iOS thing. I'm not sure, though, to be honest. But it's $10 a month for MP3 quality. It's $20 a month for CD quality. I swear to God, I don't think any of the kids are spending money on this stuff. I don't see how you can compete. Nobody wants to. I'm sorry, Taylor Swift. I love your songs, but nobody's paying. People aren't just. The kids don't want to spend money. They go on YouTube if they have to. If it's not on Spotify or whatever they're using. What do you think, Eli?
I think that we're on the edge of major evolutionary changes in the music market that a lot of the old players are not ready for, and I think that, yeah, like you said, the consumption patterns have changed. The young people are not willing to pay a lot up front, if anything, and you got to explore new models now and
might be
try not to be too dependent.
They're not, because there's a free alternative, right? That's the key. People used to steal movies and stuff, the Napster and what was the other one? I forget, LimeWire or something. And before that, they would burn DVD. They'd go to the Redbox or go to the Blockbuster or the Airalls, and they'd rent the movie, and then they'd burn the disc. Nobody's burning a disc anymore. What a pain in the ass. You know what I mean? I'll just wait for it to come on Netflix. I'm not in a hurry. Now I got HBO, that one, and Netflix and Prime, and I don't have Hulu Plus. But I don't know. I just don't think. I'm sorry, Taylor Swift and Jay-Z. You got a beautiful wife. I love your music, but nobody's paying $20 a month to listen to that shit when they can get it for free. Okay, so Google, last story, and I got to go. Google apologizes for the what's the deal? We talked about this briefly on Friday, and apparently I was making light of it, and Alan did not share in my sense of humor about this. So, what's the deal with the Android robot pissing on the Apple logo in Maps?
What do you mean? What's the deal about it? Somebody got this into MapMaker. They got it past the people who are supposed to make sure that things like this don't get into MapMaker. It utterly embarrassed Google, and it demonstrates the fact that crowdsourcing data produces crap.
Always or occasionally?
Look at Wikipedia.
Oh, I would beg to differ. That I could see some stuff. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you'll see, like I was doing research on the UVA, the president who was fired and then reinstated, and Drago, whatever, the rector who fired her. I was looking at her Wikipedia page, and it's clearly by her or her PR person. I mean, it couldn't be more of a PR
so it's
thing.
crap. And if it was by her critics, it would also be crap.
But there's
crap.
a lot of
crap,
stuff
crap,
like,
crap. Crap all the way down. Crap.
Do dogs descend from wolves or whatever, or some species that they're talking about, that kind of stuff is controversial stuff. I don't know. I like Wikipedia. I find you get the gist of it if it's like a science thing, and then I like to go to the sources listed at the bottom, the external links. That's where you get the, to the Smithsonian but I swear to God,
how do you do that for maps?
I remember one of my favorite Onion headlines.
Yeah, focus.
Was the Wikipedia users celebrate 300th anniversary of the United States. Eli, any thoughts on the urinating Android?
Mistakes happen. I'm going to completely disagree here with Alan and reaffirm that Google Maps is the single most impressive work of map making in the whole of human history. It is the single most accurate image of the world as it accurately exists right now that has ever been produced. It is not perfect. It is the world. It is 26,000 miles by 26,000 miles in a rough sphere. It is a huge place that is constantly changing. Mistakes are made, but crowdsourcing is ultimately the only way to try to keep up with things on that scale. And the argument that crowdsourcing always produces crap is belied by Linux and all the amazing things that Linux has brought us, including the Android operating system, including Chrome, including but virtually everything that Google has done as far as operating systems
open
has been
source
based
is
on
different
open
than
source.
crowdsourcing.
No, it is not. It is the same. You are sourcing to the crowd. You have to have quality control. MapMaker theoretically has quality control. Here, the system broke down. They will make improvements, and you will never see that exact mistake happen again. But you will never, ever, not in our lifetimes at least, see a project that attempts to map the world, the entire world as it exists right now, that A, doesn't need crowdsourcing, and B, doesn't have mistakes happen occasionally. This is why Google Navigator still comes with a beta label, because they don't want you looking at the phone when you should be looking and making sure that you're not driving into a lake or something.
Alan, we got to get him to watch whichever Big Block of Cheese episode on the West Wing was about the map people, showing how
he knows it already. Just because you only learn things from the West Wing doesn't mean the rest of us do.
I knew that anyway. Anyway, I'm out. Hey, thank you all very much, guys. Any last words? We have two programs, this program and Google Plus Week, which is every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific on Friday night. That's Google Plus Week, where we discuss tech news with a focus on Google things. And then this program is Our Android Week every Monday night at 9 Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on Monday night, Our Android Week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for not commenting. We were early, though. So anyway.
We weren't that early.
15 minutes. Anyway, I'm out. I gotta go pick the kid up. All right, thank you all very much. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful Android week, everybody. Yay.